greenhouse people? We are back with another episode of Tech on Demand, where our goal is always to help you grow your best crops ever. I'm your host, Bill Calkins, and throughout 2026, probably beyond, I'm going to be catching up with different people in the professional horticulture space to find out a little bit about their careers, their passions, journeys in the world of plants, and a lot more. Calling these conversations Pick 4, because I sent each guest a list of 12 questions, and they picked 4 to answer and discuss. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Jeremy Weber, the National Ornamentals Crop Team Manager at Koppert. He's a past guest on the podcast, and we're actually recording another one at Cultivate in about a month. Jeremy's a frequent contributor to Growertalks and our special supplements, usually covers topics related to biological IPM, biocontrols, crop health. But this time we get to just chat about life and careers based on the 4 questions he's selected and whatever else comes up. I'm really excited to get into it because my guest is a great storyteller. Jeremy, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, can you tell the listeners a bit about your role and maybe what a day in the life of a bio IPM team captain looks like in this day and age as more growers look to biosolutions and holistic approaches to optimizing plant health? And we've been talking for 20 minutes before we hit record, so I know I know a little bit about what a day in the life looks like, and it's probably never the same. But tell me a little bit about your role.
Yeah, that's the key part for me is it's never the same, and that's based on the psych profile I got from Koppert when I started. I am hardwired to require something new and different every day, and that's why I was getting real stressed out in greenhouses, changing fertility mixes too often, and kind of being a mediocre grower. So now I get to do something different every day, and didn't know that was a requirement, and that helps. But it started off with doing the thing and being the consultant and helping people. And then as we got bigger and more successful, there was more than just me. And the team went from me to now there's, it's hard to say. Direct reports are 10, but there's significantly more than that we're just absorbing from other teams to also work in ornamentals. So now we've got really, in terms of specifics, we've got about 14 people in the United States that are ornamental specialists that can walk into an ornamental greenhouse and know what they're doing with the pests and the crops. So that's just crazy to say out loud. It's been going on 15 years, and we've got that many people that are able to do that nationally for us.
This episode of Tech on Demand is brought to you by Prospient, delivering world-class greenhouse structures and systems. From innovative design and architecture to site development and project budgeting, the Prospient team provides the expertise to bring your vision to life. With local manufacturing across the U.S. and Canada, Prospient offers the scale and supply chain reliability you can trust, making them one of North America's largest manufacturers of commercial greenhouses. Prospient, leaders in greenhouse design, manufacture, and build. Learn more and connect with the expert team at prospient.com.
And it's really just, I think for me, it's trying to build that team and make sure everybody knows what they're doing and knows who to call. Because it really doesn't matter if you know everything about all the plants, which that's why ornamentals are fascinating. You have to be a plant geek to a certain extent. And,
for sure.
All right, great. You're a CEA tech rep. Well, that's fine. That's awesome. It's highly technical, but there's only so many varieties of lettuce or tomatoes or peppers you're going to walk into. And at the end of the day, if you know how to handle lettuce, you know how to handle lettuce. But if you walk into an ornamental greenhouse, minimum 400 varieties or something,
at least.
Yeah. Sunny Border before I left there, before that company went under, I think there were 4,800 genus and species.
That's wild.
That's an extreme, but so like that's where it's the support for the people on the team to be able to walk into a facility and know what questions to ask. It's got to be really, really high. So we're constantly sort of working on stuff like this to help put the education component out there in the wild and help the industry as a whole, not just our people that we talk to directly, but then also supporting our people internally so that they know what questions to ask. Yeah. It's not about walking into a place and like expounding. Yeah, whatever. We're bug nerds. We know about the bugs. That's really the easy part. It's knowing what you're looking at and knowing how to ask questions and get people to open up and want the advice in the first place. That's the art.
True. That's true. So yeah, I mean, a day in the life probably never looks the same. And I'm like you. I like to have it change up. I couldn't do the same thing every single day. I have in the past. Sometimes it gets boring, but I have to say, every time you and I talk, I learn a ton of new things. And the same really goes for your entire team. And you mentioned the large team that you work with. You guys really have a great group of really smart people. You guys truly care about your customers. I've learned that over the years and talking to so many of your team members. But yeah, really appreciate your time today. You ready to get into the 4 questions you picked?
Yeah, I don't know how much prep work I did on all of them, but these are the 4 I thought made the most sense. So yeah, I can BS. We'll see.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. We'll kick it off with the classic you picked, and that is, what was your first exposure to horticulture, and how did you feel or react or respond?
I mean, I think my first exposure ever was my grandmother out behind her house showing me how to air layer azaleas.
Oh wow, okay.
And I was a kid. My memory isn't overly fleshed out from that time. So I was in elementary school. And yeah, that was in Prosperity, South Carolina, outside of Newberry, 2 towns you've never even heard of, but
Right.
out of Lake Murray, sort of in the middle. And yeah, they had an old lake house from the 40s out there, and we'd go out there for holidays, and she had plants everywhere. She had a little greenhouse. She was very, very much into that, and I was oblivious for that whole part of my life. But for being oblivious to it, I still remember it. And she would just pick up. Lake Murray has red clay and quartz rocks. It's kind of gross. Your feet would sink in, when you're going swimming, and then
Oh yeah.
clay. But she'd grab one of these quartz rocks and just clear the leaves off the ground, put the branch on the ground, and come back next year, snip the thing off, and move it, plant it somewhere else.
Cool.
And I did that with rhododendrons in my yard this year.
Oh wow.
And it's just interesting when your memory is as bad as mine now, and that's part 2, by the way. But when your memory is as bad as mine now is, it's interesting, the stuff that I noticed that I do remember and the stuff that did imprint.
Mhm.
And, oddly enough, propagation is something that I've always loved doing. I still kind of identify myself as a propagator, even though I haven't had that job for forever, and likely never will again.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, that one sticks out. I like making roots.
Yeah, no, and that's actually really a cool story. I think a lot of us can trace some of our interest in this industry back to grandma or grandpa. And no, it doesn't surprise me that when you were a kid at a lake house, maybe the top thing on your mind wasn't the plants surrounding the lake house. But that's cool that you can pull that memory back up, and that it's something you're still interested in today.
It's always there. And then, God, what was it? Probably 15 years after that, I was living I was very fortunate to be able to rent a beach house off season out on Folly Beach outside of Charleston, South Carolina. And, there was we'll say this was allegedly, I found a seed in a bag of something that I had purchased, and,
Mhm.
and I germinated that on my back deck, which was extremely illegal at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I can grow plants. I'll figure this out. Or I could not. That thing was dead in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it was probably the first seed that I had ever germinated in my
Mhm.
life
Yep.
deliberately.
Yeah.
Was like, yeah, I'm going to get a pot. I'm going to get some soil. I'm going to make a plant. And God, it was probably 19.
Yeah. Sure.
Dreadlocks.
Yep.
I just been to my first fish show 8 or 9 months before that.
Nice.
Just dirty surfing hippie.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is cool. So I went into a greenhouse on Folly Road, a retail garden center called Hines, and George Hines he's a Clemson alumnus, real influential guy down there. And I managed to piss that guy off within about 2 weeks, and he fired me.
There you go. So was that your first greenhouse
That was
job?
my first horticulture job. I
Okay.
was in and out of there in about 2 weeks, and I just, dirty hippie, smart ass.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't jive, but there was just something about it that engaged, and
Mhm.
and I keep meaning to tell him, like, just go in there if he's still around. I've heard he's still kicking around, but like, I keep meaning to go in there and just take him. Like,
Yeah.
hey, man,
Oh, yeah.
it was terrible. Like, I literally was fired because I said pine straw the wrong way to a client. I ticked the client off, and he wouldn't complain to George.
Oh my
I'm saying
God.
3 tractor trailer loads. Unloaded behind me, just a mountain of pine straw bales.
Yeah.
The guy's like, "Is this all the straw you have?" And I go, "Yes, sir. Pines."
Pine straw.
And he thought that was the weirdest thing he'd ever heard. And the dreadlocks didn't help. And George was like, get the hell out of here, dude.
But I'm sure he'd like to know now that just having you on site, hiring you at first, then now your career in the industry, having done so many different things, he'd probably find it interesting. And hey, we all not every start is a good one, but something stuck with you.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing, So I moved back to Chapin, where my parents lived, for a little bit, get my feet under me again, and started landscaping.
Okay.
And that was it. Did that for a couple of years. Went, oh man, I should probably go to college for this because I'm a moron. Mm-hmm. So I went to college, and one thing leads to another, and here I am. But so there was my grandmother, and then eventually just trying to grow some pot on my deck.
There you go.
Start.
That's good. You're probably not the only one who's started in the industry. It was something like that.
It's a recurring theme, and I believe due to legislation now and in most of the states we live in, we can be a little more open about it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's dig a little bit deeper. Question number 2: if you had a free hour, what are we going to find you doing?
If it's only an hour, then it's gardening.
Okay.
It's around my house. If I have more than that, then it's something aquatic. I'm either fishing or surfing, but those take more time. But that I am part fish, so I would prefer to be fishing or surfing above anything else.
Definitely.
I do all the rest of this stuff just so I can afford that.
Exactly. But, were you a swimmer growing up, or were you just surfing? Or was that your thing?
I've been not competitive swimming, but I've been self-taught since I was 18 months old.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I have size 13 feet. I've always had big feet, so I've been able to swim very, very well. And that doesn't hurt. But I was born in Myrtle Beach, so I was an ocean lifeguard down there. You name it. But yeah, a lot of water time. But again, that's not. I live 45 minutes from where I surf, so I don't necessarily go surfing whenever I just drop of the hat. It's a project. So
yeah. But if you have a free hour, you're going out in the yard.
100%. I'm pulling weeds and doing something. I'm pruning, walking around with the Felcos. There's always a pile of 1 gallon perennials somewhere that need to get planted. So, if it's only an hour, it's something I'll need.
Cool. No, that's awesome. All right. The third question. So, and I've done, I don't know, maybe a dozen of these Pick 4 podcasts, and nobody really has the guts to pick this one. So I'm really interested to hear your answer. What are your top 3 favorite annuals and perennials? Let's go. Let's hear them all.
I don't know that I have 3 and 3, right? Because, and this is, a recurring theme after working for Pierre at Sunny Board for so long. There's a perennial or there's an annual. A perennial that's not hardy is still a freaking perennial.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And we're in different zones. So, I freaking love that. That's legit. But give me some of your top favorite flowering plants. How's that?
And I might have hung myself because somebody could be like, dude, petunia is a perennial in Mexico. And I wouldn't
I'm not going to. We're not gonna split hairs here.
Things typically sold as bedding plants. How about that?
Fair.
I really like Angelonia. There are a lot of plants that look good, at least in the Northeast or the Southeast when it's cooler, right? Nemesia, whatever. It's like, oh man, it's a cool plant. Not anymore. It's not. Now it's garbage. Right. Angelonia is one of those that does well all summer. Once you get that thing established, it just goes and goes and goes. And I like that level of performance in something that is definitely going to die at some point this year. It's going to be later, and it's going to put out a lot of colors between now and then.
It's an underrated plant. I've always felt that way. Even now that there's more and more breeding on Angelonia, it's still underrated. We were looking for something to put at my mother-in-law's house by the river, blazing sun. And I was like, go with this Angelonia. And we were just out there yesterday and commenting on it's one of the few plants that survived in that bed over the last couple of years. Good call.
It's fun seeing horticulture through my wife's eyes, who is not exposed to any of this other than through me and the people she meets through me. But, she's like, a lot of the plants she loves, I'm like, it's going to look like absolute crap in 2 months.
Yeah.
Osteospermum. I want to love osteospermum so bad. I want to love.
They're great for a while.
There's a lot of really cool plants. And then, what do you know? It's 70 degrees at night and
they're toast.
By the way, if you really want to see these plants look well and you can't afford it, go to New Zealand because, oh my God, it turns out 50 degrees every night.
That's amazing.
Having nemesia that look like bushes.
There you go.
having shrubs, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Osteos, cave daisies. Oh my God. I want to love that plant so much. And then it falls
Yeah.
off.
Yep.
But yeah, you get those cool nights like that. And it's just, that's what they're supposed to do. Honestly, dude, favorite annual? I like bubblegum petunia.
There you go.
I'm basic. That's another one of those plants that, and granted, there's a lot of decent petunias out there, but that's that one that if you put that thing in a basket and you irrigate it and water it, it's going to absolutely rip until here, like damn near November.
Right. Oh yeah, because it gets so strong throughout the summer and bigger that same thing here. It'll last till frost.
Yeah, if you just water it and fertilize it, mow it a couple times, you can run hedge trimmers on that thing. And I guess I keep coming back to like a reliability thing, versus just that's a cool plant. They're really cool plants, but at the end of the day, I've got other stuff to do, and I'd rather go surf. I don't want to have to tend to this stuff all the time. So like, I don't have one of them planted this year. Ironically, my wife hates petunias, so we don't have petunias.
We went with super cows this year, and we were just walking around drinking coffee this morning outside, and they're rocking it. It's they're big, they're tough. That's a plant that I hadn't really tried in the past, but definitely I've been converted. But I like the way you're talking like a homeowner and not a plant nerd, because it is that longevity. It's what lasts. It's what will look good when you take a weekend away, right? Like,
yeah. And that's sort of the catch, right? You can, or inversely, plant nerd, my favorite plant, period. And I'll get to that with perennials, but it's Fargasia. Nobody likes Fargasia. It's a freaking bamboo. It's invasive. No, it's not. But like, nobody wants that plant. And I've learned this running a nursery back in the day, buying 500 of them or something from Breaks Out in Washington when they were doing TC. We didn't sell them one. They're all at my house now.
I was about to say, that's how you fell in love with them, because you ended up with them.
But it was that first lesson of just because the plant nerd likes it, that probably is a warning sign, and I know that this is a perennial, but I'm going to bring this up. So I guess I will do a plant nerd one, but I love Anaxanthus, kangaroo paw.
Yeah.
Definitely a perennial, 100%. But like,
for sure.
A
desert, a dry loving, which is also nice. That's another one. Like, why aren't they more popular? I mean, we're a drought. So many areas have drought issues. Like, why isn't that plant more popular? Is it hard to propagate, or is like the supply chain not there? There's got to be a reason. There's got to be like an industry reason why Anaxanthus isn't more popular than it is.
I had no problems buying plugs 15, 16 years ago, but that was a long time ago. I had my ball seed rep find me 300 of each as a trial, and they all ended up in my house.
Right.
But it was one of those things where it was cool. So we'll call that a perennial. My last favorite annual, and this is probably going to make people doubt if I know what I'm talking about, but I freaking love a good Terenia. Because it's a mulch replacement. I'd prefer not to buy 15 or 20 cubic yards of mulch a year. And that's basically the monster that I've created at this point, and I don't. I need to, but I just don't have the time or the interest to move 20 yards around my yard with a wheelbarrow. So I probably go through 5 to 10. But like, a jig is a way to get away with not having to mulch a shade bed, and Terenia is a really cool way to do that as well. And if you can sink in a couple of flats of 4-inch, especially
you can find them. That again is an issue.
I don't see the availability.
Yeah, you should be able to find Terenia. I mean, it's a pack annual. It's a great shade plant. I did have someone tell me once that they thought that consumers would walk past it because the foliage is light, right? Like, it's almost like a chartreusey foliage. It's lighter green than like a petunia or
Underfit.
Maybe, but I was like, I don't think shoppers think that way. Like, I mean, it's pretty. It's like blue or purple. Like, it's a good color. It's good for shade.
I don't think that it's been marketed.
I think Kienzler introduced a new one this year at spring trials, and we were really happy to see it, because that is a underused plant that needs to come back.
I was just buying 3 or 4 colors from PW back in the day. And, we were probably selling 300 or 400 in a 5-inch pack.
Okay.
Of each variety, which was enough to keep it in the program, but
not much.
But bubblegum or what was that, Cleome, Senorita, Rosalita, whatever, those were like 2,000 a year. So like 300, 400, 500 was kind of like, whatever, we'll grow them, but we're not going to drop but it wasn't a barn burner. But that was always one to me that was like, I've got this whole shade garden, and granted, I could bring home 3 or 4 flats, and it wouldn't nobody cared. But you could plunk in 20 or 30 of these things, and by late June, early July, the whole ground is covered with flowers.
Yeah.
There's no mulch required, and it was that was a really cool plant. And I'm going through the garden center this spring, and I'm like, man, there's like a couple of seed varieties and like 6-packs that look like absolute crap. We're missing something there. Now, granted, is it worth it? Maybe not. Maybe there's easier fish to fry, but like I feel like there's some low hanging annual marketing that could be done there for a little mulch substitute.
Yeah, and I think and they're pretty when they're in bloom. So I mean, get photos of them now. Use them in your social media early spring. Get people to come in and buy them.
I love that thing. I already said Anaxanthus for a perennial. I did run Sunny Port for 3 years, so like it's kind of crazy that I'm going to bring up some non-hardy perennials, but that was my favorite program that we grew. They were called temperennials. So we had all these other non-hardy New England plants that we grew there, and I really liked Anaxanthus a lot because it just cranks up here all summer. Same thing with Lantana. And Lantana goes back to like my South Carolina landscaper roots. That's a very traditional perennial. And, if you're working in the fall there, you're cutting out dead Lantana and pruning those things back. And
probably the old, what was it, Homestead Purple? I mean, that thing was just
I think it was New Gold was everywhere, right? Homestead is verbena.
That's verbena. You're right. Okay.
That was all. That's semi-hardy in Charleston, where I live.
That's what I was thinking. I remember that was sort of from that region was a popular plant. But yeah, you're right. It was New Gold
everywhere. But yeah, New Gold was. I mean, and then I get my degree. I moved to New England. I start working in greenhouses, and I'm like, there's more than just this big yellow one.
Yeah.
I'm like, hang on, there's a red one. I never even noticed a red one. Everybody down there just plants this damn New Gold one, and it was like. But regardless, like the level of, from down there to it being this like just ubiquitous perennial that'll survive the desert, it'll definitely live in, Charleston or the middle of, anywhere in that middle zone of the southeastern states that are just hot and oppressive all summer. And then you get up here and it's like, what works the best thing in a combo planter that you want to be able to forget about for a week? That, Bina, throw Dahlia in there, something like that, whatever. But like, those things crank. They're always on either side of my front door, which gets the craziest exposure.
Yeah. And they're good pollinators too. I mean, the hummingbirds are all over mine.
Yeah, hummingbirds, you name it. We got the sphinx moths in ours, and and it's just one of those plants that is it hardy up here? No, but is it a fantastic perennial nonetheless? I'd say you get your money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
And then I guess for like a traditional hardy perennial, I love heuchera, man. There's a bunch. It's hard to pick one. Whenever it's whatever. I hate my favorite question period. I've got whatever I'm looking at. I'm like, well, that's my favorite right now. That might be ADD, but I think with perennials in general, I keep coming back to heuchera and foliage. I could care less about the flowers. Yeah. I love foliar colors and texture. And really, that combined with a good Hackana to me is just pure joy.
That's cool. No, that's cool.
Border Hackana is a great one as well, but I know I'm limited to 3, so I won't expound on.
There's no rules. There's no rules in this.
But yeah, like that.
No, that's cool.
I don't know. Flowers are cool. I guess that's how we make our money, right? But plant nerd, I like foliage. I'm a foliage.
Well, and coming from Sunny Border with that range of plants, you must have you've seen them all. So
it was
getting there.
It was a lot. There was a lot there for sure.
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago. I've forgotten 3/4 of it.
Right. No, it's true. It's true. Do you think that, I mean, you're in a lot of greenhouses and nurseries. Is there a trend to more diversity in terms of the species or genera or less? I mean, are people narrowing down or are they continuing to have such a huge palette?
I can't answer that with any level of, I don't know. I feel like it's gotten narrower.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I used to see a bunch of heuchera, but the public didn't jive with them because red flag, plant nerd loves them. We probably only need 4, and
purple one, a caramel one, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do I want 10? Yeah. Do we need 10? No.
Right.
Are there 50? Probably.
At least. Yeah. Right. Go to Terra Nova. I'm sure he's got 50. probably 100.
Look, he invented it. Yes, do it, man. Dad, please continue to feed the nerds, please.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like it's probably best to, and unless you want to run the plant nerd nursery, which,
Which you need. I mean, I think you need a plant nerd nursery, certainly within driving distance of most big cities. But
yes,
I don't know that's sustainable if you don't have that kind of population coming to you. I don't know. And that's just me spitballing off the top of my head.
I know about what I know about. And the older I get, the more I realize I'm pretty dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So I know about the Northeast. I know about New England and the market here. And for sure with New York is just insane.
Mm-hmm.
The businesses that I've walked into on Long Island that could exist nowhere else on the planet, that are able to function completely solvent with fantastic books, and everybody's happy at the end of the day with a profit. You're like, how in the hell would this work?
Yeah, that doesn't work in Cleveland or Kansas
It might work in Cleveland, honestly. You've got a population there, but the population in New York is huge, and they're willing to drive out 2 hours to go pick a pumpkin for $5 million.
Right.
And that's true. And you're like, what are you charging to pick your own pumpkins out here? What the hell? And there's just, the wine. The wine's garbage, but everybody goes out from Brooklyn and buys it for $25 a bottle anyway. Like, I'm not saying it's garbage. I'm not a wine person, but I've been told by people who are that it's all crap. But they're all making money hand over fist.
Right.
So there are some unique things that we're able to do horticulturally in and around the Northeast, Boston as well, just because of the population and the amount of money that people have here is also relatively good. So
it's a good horticultural culture. Like, I mean, there's a plant culture, and you see the plants in the public spaces and the old universities, and I think that It's a region that has some plant history too.
But you can go to Logie's up the road from where I live, and that place is insane. It's the oldest greenhouse in New England at this point, or something. It's the oldest some sort of greenhouse business. But, there's orange trees and grapefruit trees on the floor there from the 1800s, and it's just. But like, would that work in the middle of Kansas? No. It's because it's an hour and 10 minutes from Boston, and it's Martha stops by every time she goes back to her house in New Bedford from fantastic business, but it requires a lot of people, I would assume, and they kill on mail order as well. But, I think that's really like you were saying, but there's that one plant nerd nursery. And I'm sure there's a couple others, but Logie's always stands out because that place is pretty crazy. But, I don't know. I think that, it certainly helps. But I feel like it's probably gotten a little more generic, but that's just a hunch, and I'm not.
Yeah. I don't know. I look at our ball seed catalog, and it's as big or bigger than it's ever been. So, it must be selling some of all that seed and some of all those cuttings. So
that gives
hopefully not, because I do like to see the range. But maybe it's more about knowing your market, right? Like if you're a garden center, it's knowing, do you have the ability to sell 10 different heuchera, or should you just stick to the 3? And maybe with data and just longevity that we're sophisticated enough to make those decisions now. I hope. So.
It all comes back to sales and marketing skills. Do you have somebody out there in the shade house that's able to walk people through all those, or don't you? Yeah. And if you don't, the internet's going to steer them wrong every time. I use Gemini occasionally to help me with searches for. I will never use it for creative content ever. That to me is that's a line I will cross. But in terms of helping me search the internet for stuff, all right, that was a 10-minute job. Now it's 30 seconds. And half the time it does that, I feel like I'm just being mansplained to. It's just like a lot of confidence, but knows absolutely nothing about what it's talking about.
That's so true.
And that's, I'm sure retail places are, I use ChatGPT and it said, this is what I need to find. Like, dude, A, nobody grows it. B, that plant's crap. And you definitely need to have somebody there that's capable of helping people navigate that. And I think that's the catch, right? Like it always comes down to having like someone there that's capable of making those recommendations. And I think that's probably where we're going to continue to face headwinds.
Yep. Headwinds, but also opportunities, I think. Yeah. It's one of the things we're good at as an industry. So hopefully we still can maintain that as something we're hanging our hats on. All right. Last but not least, question number 4. What do you love most about your job?
Again, I kind of hate these favorite questions. What's my favorite part? But I still get to grow. And I get to grow because my job now is all about people. It's always been about people. The bugs are they're very easy. Coming from 4,800 plants, now I have to work with 20 bugs. I'll round up, call it 50. All right. Yeah, bugs might be a little more complex than plants. Maybe not, honestly. But if you're coming from a growing background where even you're really good at producing 500 varieties of plants, it doesn't take you long to learn all the details about 50 bugs. And that's the stuff we're selling. That's the stuff we're having to kill. The technical stuff's really, really easy. So after 3 years, the technical stuff's done. You keep learning new stuff, but it's increment. The plateau happens pretty quickly with the best reps. The fun part about it, and this is why it doesn't get old, is just about people. So you have to walk into greenhouses and talk to people. You have to eventually grow a team big enough to where you're teaching them how to do that. You're looking for marketing things to give them more opportunities. But that all comes back to all of these interactions with other people. And you never stop learning from them. You stop learning about how to do thrips control on hanging baskets.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick. It's not hard. There's 15 moving parts plus all the mites. It's like, done. Mm-hmm. Now, the hard part is convincing somebody to do it and just getting in there and getting their trust. The technical parts, again, takes 2 years. It's really, really easy. The hard part is getting people to let you in to do that and convincing them that you're there to help them. And that will never be easy. Mm-hmm. You'll never master it. I can claim that I'm an expert in it based on hours attempted, I suppose, but you can never get mastery of that. Yeah. It's like you're a master therapist. Nobody's a master therapist.
Well, because every situation's different because it's people, which makes it fun and challenging at the same time.
And I think for me, where I need something new and different every single day or I'll go insane, that itch gets scratched daily. There's always something different, and it's technically speaking, it's hard to stun loop any of us. Like, what did you just say?
Right.
Like, yeah, we've heard about that before, the technical stuff, like I said, it's real easy. It's real boring. In a good way. You want it to be boring. You don't want to be surprised at work like that. If you're supposed to be an expert. But yeah, it's that heads up face-to-face interaction where you're going, all right, how can I help one of our team members to know better questions to ask? Because that's where it's fun. It's not about running your mouth about bugs. Nobody cares.
Right.
Yeah, I try to do that. They kind of want you to know what you're talking about, but it's more about helping them figure it out and walking them through the process. And that never gets old. Always learning from that, always getting to grow and expand our skill set with that. And that's always going to be my favorite part.
I love it. I think that's a great way to close. And I think that thread has followed through this whole conversation, which I appreciate. And this was fun. I knew it would be, but I do really appreciate your time today and for all that you and your team do. I'm looking forward to catching up in person in Columbus next month.
Heck yeah. It's always fun.
Excellent. Well, I think that wraps up this episode of Tech on Demand, but I cannot close without reminding you to subscribe, share the podcast with your peers. There are more than 250 episodes in the archive covering a wide range of topics. There's really something for everyone: professional horticulture, garden center retail, landscape, CEA production, and more. And I think we hit on just about all those today. So to all the listeners, take care out there.